All right, guys, it's time to dive in and deep dive on the Sydney Thunder. We're going to talk how we see this 11 playing out, who gets the best Supercoach roles, squad news, our hot and cold picks, and much more.
You are now listening to the Insight Fantasy Sports Podcast.
Yes, welcome back to the Insight BBL show on the Insight Podcast Network. I am the Supercoach Brain, and you can find me on X at SC_Brain. And Mickey Dell, the big horse, is in the house with me. How you going, mate? What's good?
Not much. We've just finished our preview of the Hobart Hurricanes, and we spoke about how disgusting their draw was and their schedule. And we move on to the Sydney Thunder, who are not that much better, and coincidentally played just as many games as Hobart in the first 6 rounds.
It's definitely a no for me, dog.
It's tough, isn't it? Because we've had, there's a couple of teams in here that have some really fantastic Supercoach options as players, but the schedule's really kind of handcuffing us on picking these guys in round one with so many teams on the double. So Sydney Thunder fall into that trap, unfortunately. So we'll talk through them. We'll talk through our thoughts on their players. I know there's a few or a couple at least that are very popular. So we'll give you our thoughts on those. But before we do, the show is brought to you by the Standard Squeeze, Ryan from Astute Newstead, and Bonus Bank. So we'll shout out to those guys on the pod very soon. And make sure to hit the like button and hit subscribe. And if you're listening to us, of course, on audio, whether it's Spotify, Apple, Google Podcasts, all you need to do is hit follow and leave us a review. And if you're not in the unlimited group for Insight BBL yet, jump in. 482267 is the code. We're going to be giving away a Supercoach Champions ring, as we do in every single Supercoach competition, for the overall winner. And of course, we're going to be giving away weekly prizes for the top scorer in the league, courtesy of the Standard Squeeze. Now, mate, the Thunder, I'm a Thunder supporter. I'm a Western Sydney boy. I want these guys to truly do well, and we do have a couple of really nice options here. But before we dive into the 11, let's talk ins and outs. Now, Cam Bancroft is an interesting one, isn't he? Because that's a really nice little pickup for Sydney Thunder. He was in some good form there for the Perth Scorchers last year, and they've acquired him and probably will use him at the top of the order.
Yeah, spot on. He's really nice with the stick, isn't he? And he's able to manipulate his game in order to be relevant in the Supercoach world with T20s, as much as we know him to be that real dogged opening batsman in Test cricket. So big kudos to him. And Zaman Khan from Pakistan, our other in.
Yeah, so we'll talk about the 11 very soon. But outs, mate, they've lost Brendan Doggett. He's gone across to the Adelaide Strikers and might find himself in with a game in round one if Wes Agar's not fit. So good luck to him. Sam Whiteman has he's gone to the Perth Scorchers, back home for Sam Whiteman. So nice little smart move from him, really. Riley Russo, they haven't got back in the draft. They've got Faruqi as well. They've lost him, and Usman Kadir. So those guys kind of played bits and pieces roles throughout last year for the Thunder. So they lose all of those guys as well. But, I mean, are there really any big losses from the ones we just mentioned?
No. I was expecting Riley Russo last year to be better than what he was. But apart from that, this team's still pretty strong on paper.
For sure. Now, mate, uncontracted so far from the BBL, we've got Ben Cutting, who hasn't been offered a contract, which I'm really surprised about. I thought Ben Cutting would be on someone's radar this year.
Has to be. The man he's awesome, can hit a long ball, he can bowl death overs. He's a good all-round cricketer, and he can field really well. Yeah,
quality all-round cricketer. Baxter Holt, uncontracted as well, Toby Gray and Ross Pawson as well. So no luck for those guys, unfortunately. It doesn't seem to be needed this year. But, mate, before we dive in, we'll give Bonus Bank a very quick shout out. A sponsor, Bonus Bank, they're actually Australia's #1 matched betting site. So match betting in Australia is Australia's most profitable side hustle. You can take advantage of bookmaker bonus bets. So it'll basically give you a lot of education and a lot of videos and tutorials to use so that you can understand how to utilize your bonus bets and your deposit matches and things like that, different promos, to be able to make risk-free money. So fantastic little product there, and it's free to join as well, which is cool. So you don't need to outlay any cash, and you can make your first $75 on Bonus Bank. So even better, if you then want to go and take it to the next level, you can upgrade to a premium account and use the code INSIGHT, and you'll get 25% off your first month of any of their premium prescriptions. So go and check them out, and we thank them for supporting the show. Now, mate, let's talk predicted 11s. because obviously we're a little bit handicapped with schedule again, as we were with the Hobart Hurricanes. Who opens the batting for you, mate?
I think it's Alex Hales and Cameron Bancroft. So talk about Alex Hales. He's been a bit of a stalwart at the top of the order in the past, hasn't he? 125K, priced at an average of 40.6. We know he doesn't bowl. He's owned by 10% of teams. And Cameron Bancroft, 158K, only owned by 5% of teams. But their low ownership, I reckon, or for me, is because of the poor schedule they have to start the year.
For sure. It's a no-brainer. People aren't silly, and they're going to do their research, and they see that when they've got singles for the first 3 rounds into a double, into another single, into a bye, it's just not ideal for Supercoach purposes. You might be able to stash one of these guys on the bench, and there's a couple of guys I don't mind at a really cheap price that I would stash because you can keep them there for the round 4 double. They are going to obviously in round 3 go up in price, like a couple of other teams as well. So that might be a very quick look to see who's on the bubble in round 3, knowing that the Thunder will then have a double in round 4. So they could be a target around that round 3 mark to lead into then getting rid of them before they bye. Now they finished the season with a 1-1-2 as well. So I can imagine that guys like Daniel Sams, potentially a guy, depending on how Tanvi Sanger goes this year, I'm pretty high on him. Alex Hales won't be around at the back end. He's ILT 20 contracted, so he'll be off, which might open the door for a guy like Matt Gilks from last year. Cam Bancroft, depending on whether he's in and around the test squad as well, he's a conversation, I'm sure, at a higher level. So there's going to be a lot of guys that we're talking about in round 9 to finish off to try and kind of come home with a wet sail, isn't there?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's where these guys become relevant because the first 6 games, as we said earlier, they've got the same amount of games as Hobart. They've got a 1-1, then a 2-game week, a 1, and then a bye. So if you've got someone that's playing well, say, for example, Tanveer Singh at 83K, and he plays well those first couple of games and he's got a decent price rise coming, you're not going to have to break the bank in order to get him in to cash in on that.
No, you're not at all. I really like him. We'll talk about him soon, but Alex Hales and Bancroft to open up. We've got Jason Sanger at 3. He missed a bit of time last year due to that dislocated elbow, I think it was, or it might have even been a broken or fractured forearm or something like that, trying to take a catch. Pretty stiff, but I like him. He's a quality top order bat. 113K is nice as well. A little bit of a discount, just unfortunately, like we mentioned, not an option to start. Ollie Davies, though, at 117K, we've seen how devastating this guy can be with the bat in hand and is also a quality fielder. What are your thoughts on him? He's 5% owned at the moment. Bat only, no dual position, obviously doesn't bowl. But it's a nice price for a guy you could take a punt on potentially coming into round 3 or 4, isn't he?
Spot on. Yep. And as you just said, really good in the field, can hit a really long ball and really destructive with the bat when he's on. But we're talking about someone that's the same price as Glenn Maxwell here.
It's wild, isn't
it?
Yeah. I can certainly say that I would rather pick Maxwell based on the fact that he's just bashed a 200 in ODIs. So
casual.
Unfortunately.
He wasn't even moving his feet when he did it.
Yeah, no. Yeah, just get him in your team. We haven't even done the Stars preview, but you just get him in your team. Yeah. Mate, Alex Ross probably fits in at 5 here. He's done a lot of that middle order kind of stabilisation anchor role, I guess, for teams that he's played in at the past, and he's played with the Thunder for a bit now, and he plays that role really well. So
yeah, he does. Yeah, he does.
Only 85K. You're just not going to go there. But the guy that you would be very tempted by, and it looks like a few super coaches have, is Daniel Sams, dual position bat bowl, 162.5K, 22.3% owned at the minute as of recording. Now, coming off a 52.5 average last year. What are your thoughts on him?
Yeah, no, I'm not. Not at all. With Daniel Sams, he's 162K, bat bowl. He is nice. He does bowl death overs. He can make runs. But when we speak about the schedule, again, it's 3 games in 3 weeks. There's better out there at that price. So if he's playing well, by all means, you can look to get him in before his double game week in round 4. But to start with, I'm not touching any of these players, mate.
It sucks, doesn't it? I want Daniel Sams in my team so much, but I just can't do it at that price with the single game weeks. So,
yeah,
unfortunate. I would recommend that the 22.3% probably rethink the way that their squad looks, because 160K is a lot to pay for a guy who's only going to suit up once for you per week for a while.
That's right. Talk to me about number 7.
Yeah, Nathan McAndrew, more obviously known for his bowling, but can use a stick when he is required. And again, we talked about the depth or the lack of batting depth at Hobart. I'm having a similar conversation here with Sydney Thunder. Nathan McAndrew is a number 9 for me. Sure, he can bat, but like you've got to have a couple of better options at 7 and 8. Like McAndrews and Chris Green, who I've got in this predicted 11 at the moment. And I mean, we're leaving out guys like Blake Nikitaris for obvious reasons. Liam Hatch is a bowler. Matty Gilks with the gloves would become relevant if Cam Bancroft ever ended up disappearing, getting injured, getting selected for Australia. But it's a tough lower order here. McAndrews, Chris Green, Gurinder Sandhu, who isn't terrible, but definitely isn't known as a bat. Tanvi Sangha and Zaman Khan. Like, there's a lot of tail in this tail end order, isn't there?
Oh, there's a lot of tail here. The same as Hobart. Nathan McAndrew at 7. Yeah, you're just not going there, are you? And like we've seen in Shield cricket where he's batting at 9 and 10. Same with Chris Green. He's been used as a number 11 before. You've effectively got 5 players in the 11 who have all batted 9, 10, 11 before, which isn't good. If you lose quick early wickets, then Alex Ross and Daniel Sams and the likes become very relevant. So it would be good to keep an eye on how their top order are batting to start the year and what sort of form they're in. But again, that's an extremely long tail.
Yeah, I think they may have a roster spot available, so it'll be interesting to see over the next 3 weeks who they sign. There's a couple of squads that aren't complete yet. They might be looking to get a bit of depth in their batting order.
Yeah, if they're looking for someone, I know Ben Cutting hasn't been signed yet. Would he be someone that would fit into this team fairly well?
Well, I mean, he was contracted last year for them. So it would make sense, wouldn't it, to get the man back in the side. He can, bowl decent overs through the middle of the innings, hits a long ball. He'd probably be the perfect number 7, really. Then everyone can slide down one. It's just the problem becomes, who do you drop there out of McAndrew, Green, Sandhu, Sangha and Khan? They're all decent bowlers. So you've just got a copy hit there as to who you drop. Now, from a Supercoach perspective, McAndrew and Green both had really good years last year. They averaged north of 50, Supercoach-wise. So they're priced at 160, which just is no absolute no touch for me. That's way too expensive for what you're going to get back from those guys. Gurinder Sandhu will have the death overs, I am assuming, with Zaman Khan is my guess. McAndrew can bowl at the death as well, but I assume it's going to be Sandhu and Khan that get the death overs. Gurinder Sandhu becomes a really intriguing option when that kind of schedule opens up there around 3-4. Because he will get junk wickets at the end of the innings. I can guarantee you this. He's got a really good off-cutting slow ball, bowls well at the end, and he also reverses the white ball pretty well at the back end of the innings. He bowls a really good reverse swinging Yorker.
Yeah, nice. I'll have to keep an eye out for that. I haven't seen that out of him.
Yeah, so Tanvi Sangha is the guy I'm hot on, mate. I really like Tanvi Sangha. This guy's super talented. Maybe I just love all the leggies in the competition. I don't know. Maybe it's a predisposition for me, but 83.8k, cheap as chips. Didn't play last year, obviously, but he's 21% owned for a reason. He's got a strike rate of 13 with the ball in T20s. He essentially averages 2 wickets a game, basically, in his 4 overs, and he only, as a leg spinner, goes for 7.5 runs per over, which is incredibly good economy rate for a leggy in a T20 where you're essentially targeted when you're bowling spin in these formats.
100%. And for me, if we're talking about players who we like that play in similar positions, I love hitting bombs. So I'm going Ollie Davies, mate. 117k. He can swing the willow, and he's really good in the field, unlike myself, where I tried to go fine leg to fine leg and hide as much as I could. So if he starts hot, then he's coming into my team once the schedule opens up.
For sure. And Daniel Sams is always going to be a watch, because I think if he starts red hot for the first 2 games, this 22% are going to be in the top 22%. I can tell you that much. But he's going to be a target round 3, because you're going to want to take advantage of the cash gen if he starts with a couple of hundreds or something like that and goes big. His role is outstanding. Take away the schedule, he's probably one of the first picked in my team if they started off on a double. So, it's just a shame.
It is.
Batting 6, though, and bowling 4 overs and guaranteed... Oh, actually, you know what? Daniel Sams probably bowls a death overs with Sandhu. Khan will probably be first change. So that's an oversight. But Daniel Sams definitely gets the death overs and he's incredibly nifty with it, and also hits a big bomb at 6. So It's just the schedule sucks. So we can probably move past it for now. But maybe in round 3 when we do a weekly wrap up weekly wrap up for round 2 or the preview for round 3, we might be talking about Daniel Sams as a must have.
Yeah, potentially. Let's see how this goes.
We mentioned quickly, Hatcher misses out, Nikitaris misses out. Gilks I don't see sliding into this team unless they use Cam Bancroft in the field, which has been done in the past in multiple formats. He's actually a really good fielder, Cam Bancroft, and they use Gilks to bat at 7 to strengthen the batting a little bit, and he'll take the gloves, and then everyone slides and they drop a bowler. So that could realistically happen, because at the moment I'm looking at 6 bowlers here from 6 to 11, and someone's not going to bowl 4 overs, and they're all capable of it. So maybe we're off the mark here a little bit. Maybe they do add in a Gilks at 7 there and strengthen the batting a little bit.
Yeah, and the other one that they've got who won't play at all will be David Warner. We've seen that his wish is to play out the Test series and retire on his own terms this year. So he'll spend the season or the summer with the Australian Test team into retirement.
Yeah, for sure. Mate, that's the Sydney Thunder. Unfortunately, again, not too many amazing options for us, but we'll be talking about them as we go throughout the year when their schedule opens up into that double game round in round 4. But mate, to start the season, I'm steering clear. Tanvi Sangha though could be a bench option. You just put him there for the cash gen, potentially. He's probably the only guy I would look at just purely based on price. But mate, any final words for the Thunder before we wrap up?
No, unfortunately, with the scheduling. It's a no-go for me. There's no real price gen that's going to really come unless you've got someone going really large the first 2 rounds. The back end of the year, we've mentioned it's a 1-1-2 and finishing the year with a double game week. I believe it's the only team with a double game week in the last round. So keep an eye on this team throughout the season, see who's playing well, and it may be the difference at the back end of the year between you winning or losing your league.
It could very well be. But mate, that'll do us. Thanks for watching, guys. And of course, if you haven't yet, please hit subscribe and hit like on the episode. We would appreciate it. And if you are listening to us on audio, Spotify, Apple, Google, wherever it is you get your podcasts, hit follow and leave us a review. That'll do. We will see you for another team preview very soon. Until then, you've been listening to an Insight Fantasy Sports podcast. Peace out.
Horse out.